They are the only surviving dishonest conjoined twins and have lived their entire lives in a secluded, tight-knit society, shielded from other observers. Abby and Brittany Hensel were conjoined twins born in 1990, having a single body. Millions watched them on television for decades. They became teachers after appearing on Oprah and their own reality show. They were automobile drivers. Their lives were typical. Then the internet took off in 2024. Photos from a secret wedding came to light. Something more significant was suggested by an enigmatic TikTok. All of a sudden, everyone had the same query. What actually became to the twins? The reality is more shocking than anyone could have predicted. On March 7, 1990, Abby and Brittany Hensel were born in Minnesota's Carver County. However, this was no typical birth. The birthing room fell silent at 12:17 a.m. Paparazzi twins, with two heads sharing a single body, were the neonates. Their combined weight was 11.5 pounds. Their parents were taken aback. Nobody had anticipated this. Only one birth out of every 200,000 is affected by this uncommon disease. Physicians from all around the nation hurried to visit them. They were curious as to how this might have happened. 2 days later, a significant operation was carried out by surgeons. A tiny third arm was developing between their necks. It needed to be taken out. The girl survived the 6 arduous hours of surgery. It marked the beginning of what would turn out to be a remarkable life. Even the most intelligent doctors were astounded by the way their bodies functioned. Brittany was in charge of the left side, while Abby was in charge of the right. Their organs still needed to work together, even though each had her own heart and lungs. They forced blood through the same body, yet their hearts beat differently. They only had one digestive system, but they had 2 stomachs. They both felt it if one of them ate anything awful. Things could go wrong if they didn't even sync their breathing. Even simple tasks were difficult during their first year. Every day, feeding was a puzzle. Behind the happiness, though, their parents had to make a painful choice. Should they attempt to keep the twins apart? The physicians stated there was little possibility. One or both may not make it. One might have severe difficulties even if they did. Their parents rejected it after weeks of deliberation. Together, they thought Abby and Brittany were more powerful. The family remained steadfast despite disagreements. Early on, they began treatment, teaching the girls how to live both as 2 people and as one. On October 8, 1996, Abby and Brittany were first seen to the world on television. When they appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show, they were 6 years old. The audience was in a state of shock. These girls were flourishing, not simply getting by. They discussed sleeping, eating, and even fighting. And how did they use a coin toss to resolve disputes? They were admired for their honest and composed demeanor. There were more shows after that. They even have their own television show on TLC in 2012. But they remained the same despite fame. They remained modest and secretive. One thing remained constant during all of this. They were never treated as a medical enigma by their parents. They were brought up by Patty and Mike Hensel as 2 females with a single amazing body. They provided them with autonomy, encouragement, and a solid sense of self. Consequently, Brittany and Abby never believed they were broken or weird. Brittany and Abby Hensel were raised in a rural Minnesota town. From the outside, they appeared to be just another group of children leaving for school every morning. But in each classroom, their ability to collaborate as a team astounded both teachers and students. Abby's right arm and leg were under her control. Brittany was in charge of the left. And they moved together somehow. They were even able to write simultaneously. 1 sentence, 2 pens, and 2 hands. People stopped and stared at it alone. They were already dividing up the tasks in the early years. Abby had a keen sense of science and statistics. Brittany was passionate about stories, history, and words. They therefore supported one another. One writes essays, the other solves equations. Who accomplished more was never the issue. They simply worked together on everything. However, school was more than just books. There were actual problems in gym class. Most children played, ran, and jumped mindlessly. Brittany and Abby had to consider every move. Abby would cover one side of their body when playing volleyball. The other was handled by Brittany. It required time, coordination, and countless repetitions. Nevertheless, they played. They engaged in competition. They continued to arrive up without ever requesting a different or more straightforward guideline. They accomplished a significant milestone in 2008 when they graduated from Mayer Lutheran High School. However, this was more than simply crossing a stage. The honor roll was theirs. They participated in activities. They spoke. They were respected. Getting a driver's license, something that many 16-year-olds aspire to, was one of their greatest accomplishments that year. However, the test had to be taken twice. Abby operated the radio and the pedals. Brittany operated the lights and turn signals. They learned to steer together. Each of them was assessed independently during the test. That meant 1 automobile, 2 licenses, and 2 test results. They passed because they deserved it, not because someone made an exception. It was among the best illustrations of their ability to work together under duress. The entire audience was affected by their graduation address. They discussed remaining united, persevering, and how their education influenced their identities. The news swiftly swept outside of Minnesota. News organizations reported on it. People began tracking their journey all around the nation. Abby and Brittany attended Bethel University in Minnesota after high school. They made the decision to pursue education. They initially thought about picking several areas of focus, but the workload made it too difficult. Together, they decided on a single course. It was not a regression. It was a wise choice. They were always able to adapt when things became challenging. One of them would take notes during university lectures, whereas the other would listen intently to the lecturer. They would then take turns. They occasionally contributed 2 distinct viewpoints to the same subject in group assignments, which energized class discussions. At first, it was difficult to make friends. They were unlike anyone most people had ever encountered. However, their humor and upbeat demeanor shattered the ice. They eventually rose to prominence on campus. They even joined the volleyball squad and made a special contribution. They received their degrees in education from Bethel University in 2012. The audience erupted in cheers once more as soon as they took the stage. Each of them received a diploma from the university. Despite having the same body, classes, and travel, they were awarded 2 degrees. A considerate 2-for-1 tuition scheme was used to pay for their education, acknowledging both their individual efforts and their common circumstance. Despite being born into the same body, Abby and Brittany Hensel were never the same person. They were obviously 2 minds, 2 voices, and 2 lives from the start. Abby loves numbers and is outspoken and self-assured. She expresses her opinions and tackles issues head-on. Brittany is quiet, collected, and considerate. She is the author, the one who thinks things through before acting. You can know who they are even by their attire. Abby likes vibrant hues and designs. They receive clothing with 2 necklines, one for each of them, because Brittany keeps things simple and uses gentle colors. Although their bodies are one, their responses are not. When Brittany consumes caffeine, her heart races. Abby is completely emotionless. They don't argue, even though one of them may grow tired before the other while they're walking or doing anything else physically demanding. They toss a coin if they can't agree. They alternate if one wants to go right and the other left. They are experts at maintaining equilibrium. They accomplished a significant feat thanks to such equilibrium. They started teaching 5th grade in 2012. When two conjoined twins entered a Minnesota school and began their careers, the entire world watched. They had recently received their degrees from Bethel University with education-related degrees. The school district wasn't sure how to recruit a person with two minds, but they were prepared. The principal needed assistance, so he called human resources. Since they were two different professions, they ultimately received two different contracts. They only received one salary, though. Given that they were both licensed teachers, that didn't seem fair. Brittany and Abby, though, didn't voice any complaints. They proved everyone incorrect and cared more about the children than the money. Teaching as conjoined twins took work, but within a year they were among Sunnyside Elementary's most adored teachers. The right portion of Abby's body is under her control. Brittany is in charge of the left. Each and every gesture, every action, and every syllable written on the chalkboard had to be executed precisely in time. They alternate speaking in class. While one teaches, the other assists students who are struggling or lagging behind. Children feel seen as a result. They experience support. One of the twins' greatest assets now is that. However, not every day was simple. "Can you even teach like this?" a student asked them during their first year. It might have been a painful experience. Rather, they transformed it into a potent lesson about respect and diversity. Their students remembered that moment. To encourage good behavior, they implemented a new point system in the classroom in 2015. It was so successful that the whole school paid attention. Students were expressing sentiments such as, "It's like having two teachers in one," by 2017. It's fantastic. Their influence extended beyond the classroom. A poll of students in 2018 found something incredible. Because of Abby and Brittany, the majority of children reported feeling more comfortable discussing their difficulties. They spread their message across the country in 2020. Thousands of instructors listened to them speak at a significant education conference. Their suggestions for creating an inclusive classroom have been implemented in schools across the nation. They have always been admired by their co-workers. According to one principal, the twins invigorated the entire school. Children once said that math was dull. No more. It was exciting because of Abby and Brittany. Abby and Brittany Hensel collaborate in a way that seems nearly unbelievable. In one classroom, Brittany might be writing on the board while Abby explains a math issue. They then switch after a few seconds. They seamlessly switched roles 37 times during a 2023 documentary filming session. They also successfully completed a research experiment in 2024 that required precise cooperation and split-second timing. The crowd was astounded by how well they coordinated as a team. However, this type of collaboration did not begin yesterday. The public first became aware of Abby and Brittany when they were on the Oprah Winfrey Show at the age of 6. At the age of 22, they made a comeback to the public eye with their own reality show, Abby and Brittany, which debuted on TLC on August 28, 2012. The moment was ideal. The show followed their initial forays into adulthood after they had recently graduated from Bethel University in Minnesota. The 8-episode series offered viewers a glimpse inside their world. They are conjoined twins, meaning they have two heads but one body. Brittany has the left side under control, while Abby has the right. Therefore, cooperation is essential for even the most basic activities, like riding a bike or operating a vehicle. However, they made it appear simple. Whether they were laughing around, shopping with pals, or throwing a volleyball, they demonstrated how. When you've been working as a team your entire life, it can come naturally to you. Nor did they limit themselves to the local area. They were trailed across the world by the show. They drank high tea and worked on their British accents in London. In Italy, they threw coins into Rome's Trevi Fountain and sailed a gondola around Venice. These were not merely enjoyable moments. They demonstrated the twins' inquisitiveness and bravery in their exploration of the world. A significant next step was the main topic of the last program. Instead of merely assisting in a classroom, they were getting ready to become certified 5th-grade math teachers. Although it was a significant leap, they were prepared for it. It was later verified that they were hired and began teaching in Minnesota. The public was unable to quit observing. Their handling of tasks like driving, where each twin had to pass a different test, astounded viewers. In addition, people pondered more profound issues like marriage, relationships, and whether or not they wanted children. However, Abby and Brittany did not discuss those subjects. Fans became even more intrigued by the mystery. The twins decided to live a more subdued life after the last episode broadcast on October 2, 2012. They largely avoided the spotlight and concentrated on their careers. Something subtly historic occurred in Minnesota on November 13, 2021. One half of the well-known conjoined twins, Abby Hensel, married. Only close friends and family attended the private ceremony. Brittany, her sister, who